Josh, I want to start with you. Is our president crazy like a fox, or do you think this was maybe not the right move to lie about this?
Well, you can really sense his frustration, right? I mean, every morning he's reading in the newspaper about some anonymous leak somewhere in the intelligence agencies that are accusing him of some kind of a gross impropriety with respect to Russia or something else. And he's got to fight back one way or another. And in this case, he basically just wants people to say what actually happened. And so was it a short-term strategy with some success? Sure. I think discretion was probably the better part of valor here, in that the tweet that ultimately led to all of this actually did lead to a special counsel, which he's now dealing with. There are more headaches and more headaches. So he probably shouldn't have been as aggressive at pushing back on Comey. But I mean, you can't blame the guy. He really has to defend himself at some point, because it's clear nobody in the intelligence agencies is doing it for him.
All right, so you heard Ted Cruz say we can get this done. Can Republicans get this done, Josh?
You know, they absolutely can get it done. I mean, the one indelible lesson that I had from basically about 10 years in the Senate is that you just don't bet against Mitch McConnell's ability to figure this kind of thing out. I mean, this is the legislative equivalent of landing a 747 in a suburban driveway, right? I mean, it's a big piece of legislation with a lot of different, very complex things out there. And you can see, just based on the people, what their concerns they're talking about. They come regionally. You know, some things are about Medicaid, other things are about coverage. I mean, there's a whole wide range of concerns to have about this. But ultimately, the question will be, do you think Obamacare is working? Are these markets stabilized? Are these taxes working for the economy?
But how do you address a guy like Rand Paul who says, I keep looking at this thing, and it looks like Obamacare? He says it's Obamacare light.
Yeah, and I think, look, they will address the concerns specifically as he raises them. But I think the larger point here is, if you don't have what you can get 51 votes to repeal, you got nothing.
You know, Josh, Robert Mueller has put an entire team together of Clinton sycophants, lawyers who have worked and donated heavily to the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton campaign. Perfectly normal, rational reason to be a little concerned about what's going on.
Yeah, no, I think what he said at the end there, though, is Mueller is an honorable man, and he thinks he'll come to the right conclusion, is probably the right way to handle this. I mean, the bottom line is, as long as there's not anything, and now there's been, what, 5-6 months of investigation, there's not a single shred of evidence that they've done anything wrong. As long as that continues to be the case, it doesn't matter if Nancy Pelosi is leading the investigation, right? I mean, they're not going to find anything. And so that's basically what I think he should do, is just let this thing take its course and let the chips fall where they may.
We will see what happens. What do you think, Josh Holmes? Is she sticking around? It seems like the press is sort of galvanizing anti-Nancy.
Oh, I know it, because she's such a gift to Republicans. I mean, it's been like a decade plus where we've enjoyed Nancy Pelosi. Don't go anywhere, Nancy. Please, I'm begging you, don't go anywhere. The president's absolutely right. Did you guys think, I kind of thought when I was watching her justify her own existence, it was kind of like watching Fredo and The Godfather.
Josh, I'll start with you. Johnny Depp is a wife beater who's having serious financial problems, so I'm certainly going to take his life advice. But in all seriousness, obviously we had a terrible tragedy with a congressman who's now sitting in the hospital recovering from a bullet wound. It's not funny to joke about things like this. Why do you think it's sort of accepted in Hollywood?
No, it's absolutely horrible. You know, what's so interesting is that both parties have our share of absolutely crazy people. The difference is, with Democrats, we always have to hear from them. You know, they've got a microphone in their hands at all times. I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. This guy, I mean, we're 2 weeks removed from an assassination attempt on a United States congressman who is a leadership member of Congress in the Republican Party. And it's like not dawned on him at all that this kind of rhetoric is totally and completely irresponsible. I frankly think people should be so disgusted by it, but I don't know what to do about it, because they just never stop.
Scrutiny of A.G. Lynch and political influence. Josh, your comments on that?
Yeah, no, this is significant. And actually, one of the things, you wouldn't know it by reading the newspapers, but it's one of the things, the most significant things that came out of the Comey testimony a few weeks back, was this very item that Loretta Lynch had a heck of a lot more to worry about than Donald Trump did. And this is encouraging to see going forward.
Josh Holmes, a first-timer. Good to have you today.
Thank you.